The problem is really you and me. If people are gossiping about you, it's because you are different. You're dressing differently, you're speaking differently, you're conducting yourself differently, you're reacting differently, and you just stand out of the crowd. You are not the regular, normal person. And so, people are going to talk about how different you are. And to create those different stories, they need some masala to be added to it. So, whose fault is it? Yours, who's the topic of the gossip, or is it theirs, the gossipers? If you don't want to get gossiped about, change yourself. Become a normal, regular person. Become the boring person who fits in everywhere, who doesn't stand out in any way. But can you? And should you? My earliest memories of finding out gossip about myself was when I was in school, I think 11th and 12th, then through college, then in my early years of being in a bad marriage. The gossip about me during the time that I walked out of my bad marriage and then got into a IT job and then built my life and then found someone else was the most maximum amount of gossip happened around that time, which really tells you that we become a victim to gossip only when we are doing something different from what the other people are doing, or we do something that other people don't understand. So, gossip can be very harmless, but it can also be very, very harmful too. You see, in gossiping, there are two parties involved. One is the one who gossips, and the other one is your topic of gossip. Now, as long as we are talking about this topic of gossip and that gossip stays between a circle of people and does not leave that circle of people or does not influence in the way that person is interacting with that person, I think it's harmless. It's a kind of gossip that, close friends catch up about somebody else, the person who's not in the group, and we have some great laughs about it, or we might just feel a little happy that, oh, that other person is not as happy or not doing as well as we are doing. It gives us a sense of being elevated, a sense of self importance that I'm doing better than the other person. And then it works out okay. I mean, gossip is prehistoric. It's the way hunter gatherers and people got together in groups and exchanged information about the places they hadn't been to. It was really a way of passing on intelligence or information about something that the other person hadn't experienced or experiencing something that was completely new for them. As we evolved and became who we are today, gossip has taken a form of being harmful or harmless. Anybody who is a person of influence, person in power, person who is very visible in social media today or is very visible to everybody else will get gossiped about and spoken about. Now, if you're sitting over here and gossiping about how Kareena Kaif probably didn't look as pretty a bride as Anushka did or as Kiara did, उनको कोई फर्क पड़ता है? It doesn't make a dent to them. We can keep gossiping about it and write books and manuals about it. It makes no difference to them at all. So in this case, the gossip is quite harmless. But if we were to talk in the same way about our cousin, about a friend, and compare them, and that person comes to know and compare them by saying, Arey, Tina's wedding lehenga was not as pretty as Swastika's swastika. I don't even know anybody who's swastika, but I'm just giving you an example. Tina's lehenga was not as good as Swastika's lehenga. If Tina comes to know about it, it is definitely going to hurt her. And it'll hurt her more if she comes to know that we as friends spoke about her like that, right? So that is where it becomes very, very harmful and becomes very, very toxic. My earliest memories of listening to gossip about myself when I was in class 11, I had just transitioned from an international school. That time, international schools were not a big thing like it were today, though I believe my dad paid a lot of fees because he really wanted us to go to the best school. And this was a international school in a place called Devlali, this Barnes International School. And even at that time, it used to have students from all over the world. So basically, foreigners coming to Bombay or to India close by in Maharashtra would send their kids all the way to Devlali. It was a hostel. It was a 110-year-old school run by the Britishers. So we had a lot of faculty from the UK. So a very mixed and a very international experience back then. So coming from there, to a school in a very small town, obviously I was different. I was talking differently, I was dressing differently, my point of view were different. And so a lot of gossip started going around that, oh, she thinks too much about herself, she only talks about her foreign friends, and she is snooty, and she is very loose with the boys, has a lot of boyfriends, because we were in international school not inhibited in talking to the boys around us. But in this small town, talking to a boy was like, ooh, shadi kar lo tum next. It was like that. So obviously people would talk about you, right? So whenever you stand out from the crowd, it makes you more susceptible to be a topic of gossip. The next gossip about me happened when people had come to know that I was in a troubled marriage. And I would hear about it from third party, fourth party, and all of that stuff. And that's the time I started realizing that this person telling me about gossip was in the same room that I was being spoken about. How did those people have the courage to talk about me in front of my friend? Did they not know that my friend will tell me? And if they knew that my friend would tell me, then they really did want me to have that information. That was one way. Other thought about that was that maybe my friend was also being participative in that gossip, and therefore it gave the other people in the room enough courage to talk about me. So when we hear gossip about ourselves, it's a good point to take a step back and say, but in this room, how is it that people had the courage to talk about me like this in front of you? It's a good question to ask your friend, you know, and also to ask your friend, what was your reaction to this gossip? What did you tell them? A lot of times we very thoughtlessly and almost without giving it, too much of credibility, we participate in gossip because we want to belong to this group. We want to let them know that I know that person, but I want to be part of your group, so I'm going to participate in this gossip so that I'm able to build trust with you. We lose sense of the fact that by talking about this person behind their back, we are actually losing their trust. So maybe some of us are wise enough to quickly balance whether the trust of this group is more important to me than the trust of this one person, and we still choose the group and we participate in the gossip. Or sometimes when we know that this person's love and trust means the world to us, we stand up and we say, hey, you may think so and so, you may think like this about this person, but here is the fact. What you know is probably not right. And if we have stood up for this person in this group, we should be proud of ourselves, because it takes a lot to stand up to 3, 4 people, especially when the person whom you're trying to defend is not in that room. And trust me, when we start doing these things, people who are going to be gossiping about this person will not choose us the next time. They will gossip in a different circle. So every time we are exposed to gossip, it's good to take a stand and see how participative you want to be in this gossip, especially when it's a new group, it's a new set of people. To participate in the gossip, to build trust, is something that comes very inherently to us. Remember, as hunter gatherers, we had to get information, so we had to, get the trust of the other group. So it happens very automatically. But matured people, wisdom teaches us that it's always good to understand whether this gossip is going to harm the person you love and whether that person's trust is important to you or not. And once we start standing up, we ourselves feel elevated in our own eyes. We become wiser and more mature because of this action. The time where I walked out of the bad marriage and started a new job, was a single parent, and then, was interacting with other people, and I was in the quest to find my true love, because I was never somebody built to be alone. I knew that for sure. Was the time when the gossip about me touched a new level. I'm surprised people did not have blogs and forums about Rubina, So I used to hear things as wacko as, oh, you know what, she's gone offsite because she actually has somebody in the US. Oh, she's gone offsite to UK because she's actually married to somebody in the UK, and that is how she's getting financed over here. I've also heard stories about, oh, she's going to so and so pub because she is such a heavy drinker that she has to go out and drink. Okay, and I've also heard gossip about myself where I was told, oh, she actually left her ex because she'd already found somebody in this new life, you know, and even weirder and weirder gossip. But that was the time where I was at my lowest. I think I was a mixture of both. I was fierce outside, But when you're alone in your house and you're seeing your children dependent on you and you're the only breadwinner and you're struggling to get your feet outside, is when gossip or anything negative about you can really, really hit you, you know. And I'm sure you've experienced it too. At your lowest, anybody coming at you can create a lot of damage to your confidence, to your self esteem, to your ability to fight. And it happened with me too. You know, it questioned my belief, and I was like, maybe it's time to give up, And I started getting scared of meeting more people because I was like, okay, they already have a defined perspective of me. I mean, anybody meeting me must already think so low of me. So should I even bother meeting them? And I remember when I bought my first home in Bangalore, it was almost about 3.5 years after walking out and building my own life. I took the keys for that apartment and I was like coming out, and then I met one of my old acquaintances over there, and she said, "Hi, so what are you doing here?" I said, "Hey, I just bought my new apartment." And she said, "Oh my God, who gifted it to you?" I was so taken aback. I was like, "No, I bought it with my own money." And that look on their face, I know what the secret is. That is the day that I made up my mind on two things. First, I realized that how much ever I work hard and build myself up, there'll be enough amount of people who'll pull you down. And secondly, whatever I do, I know the truth. And maybe my friends who are closest to me and my innermost circle will know the truth. The world beyond that will have versions of that truth. But do those versions really matter to me? Can I stop those versions? I can't stop those versions. So, should I then stop living the life that I want to live because I'm scared about those versions? It wasn't easy. It was a continuous process of everyday waking up, meeting friends, meeting new people, interacting with new circles, and hearing gossip about myself, hearing sometimes in their eyes the unsaid thing, where they're trying, whether you meet somebody and they are like, in their head, they have a different perspective of you because they know somebody who gossiped about you. So you can see the struggle in their eyes ki humne socha tha, we thought Rubina is like this, but she doesn't seem to be that person as I'm talking to her. I could see that in so many people's eyes, that confusion of knowing a version of Rubina and trying to compare it with the version that they're talking to and speaking with and having an interaction with. I used to see that and I used to let it go. Because I realized that people who really cared about me, who really wanted to be in my circle of friends, who kind of wanted to spend time with me, will always learn to overlook the gossip or to substantiate the facts by knowing me better. And from then on, my life became immeasurably easy. When I used to meet people, I used to always go in with the belief that they know a version of me. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to go in over there and defend that version. I'm just going to present myself the way I am. I'm somebody who loves a laugh. I'm somebody who's very loud in terms of, expressing myself. I'm also somebody who's very kind, who's very generous, and who's very loving and very, very giving. I know that of myself. So I had to collect everything I knew about myself, the good part and the positives, and then walk into a room or to meet new people so that to give myself a fighting chance of letting them see the real me. And that courage you have to build your own self. You have to build that courage. Nobody's going to come and give that courage to you. Nobody's going to write the playbook to you and say, do this, and that. Then you'll become your authentic self, or you'll be able to present yourself to the most honest ability or the most honest version of yourself. We have to do it ourselves. And it is so important to do it ourselves, to present ourselves with the courage, without getting scared, because the world deserves the best and the truest and the most honest version of ourselves. Only when we are able to do that, we are able to fight the vulnerability and get our truest self outside, can we make a dent in the world? Can we make a place for ourselves which we can proudly say, I did it? We cannot make a true dent in the world if we keep presenting a false self of ourselves and if we keep playing to the version that the world wants us to be. We can't be. We can only be ourselves. And it's only when we become ourselves can we really, really start getting better and best at what we really want to be. My most favorite example over here is Shah Rukh Khan. This is somebody I really admire more than anything else. My friends teach me, Arey, you have a crush on Shah Rukh Khan. The crush is not a simpler, girlish thing. It's not about that. It's about that absolute admiration I have for him from where he came with nothing, with uh, nobody to, put him on the world stage, but he's worked his way through. And he still continues to create a movie like Pathan at 57. So, and he always says that there are insecurities, but the only way you can be yourself and do your best work is by believing in yourself and by actually presenting who you are to the world. You can only be yourself. And all great leaders, and all great voices say that there's only one of you, and one life is good enough for us to celebrate the one person who we are. Not like I have never gossiped also, Of course I've gossiped, I've gossiped with my friends, but as I've matured and I've seen the damage that gossip can do to you, I have checked myself and created a list that I do when I meet new people. And, reflexively, we want to build trust, and especially when we are trying to build a new set of friendship or a new relationship with people at work, a new working relationship with people at work, we want to quickly build trust, so that we can quickly get on to work and the results that we're looking for. So here is what I do. I quickly take a stock of the conversation when it's drifting into gossip, and even if I want to gossip, I just keep quiet. I will just say, yeah, I know that person. That's it. And I let the other people talk to kind of see how are they channeling the conversation. It also gives me an insight about them, that if they are talking badly about somebody they know in front of me, then tomorrow they will do the same with me also. So I'm smart in terms of how much I want to share with them and how much I want to tell them. I always measure what I say about the other people. The safest sentence I've learned to use whenever I want to be diplomatically part of the group but yet not participate in the gossip is, I don't know her well enough to present a view on this topic about her or him. And that's it. Other person will keep telling you, no, but you must know this, you must know that. I don't know her well enough. I drink water to kind of deflect, or I'll call the server and ask for something else just to kind of try and change the conversation. If the other person is smart enough, they'll get the hint and they'll change the conversation 9 out of 10 times. If they're really persistent, then I will say, listen, I'm not comfortable talking about this person. I don't like to talk about people who are not in the room. It's all right. We can move on. And it's okay to be assertive. Being agreeable all the time is the sure way to make sure you will not succeed. The most successful people, the most successful leaders are the least agreeable. There are studies done on it. There is a science around that. When you're agreeable, you never know when to draw the line. And most people will not respect you when they know that you will agree to almost everything. Leaders are always respected for their assertiveness and the power to say no. And that is what we all need to develop if you want to live a life free of the impact of negative gossip on us. No to gossip, no to people who are toxic to you, no to relationships which are toxic to us. And if you do find yourself as the topic of gossip or as the victim of gossip, it's always good to develop empathy for yourself first. Like I shared earlier, you will hear a lot of things bad about you, but at those times is when you have to stand up for yourself and say, okay, so if you think I'm somebody with a bad character, that's your opinion. But your opinion doesn't change who I am. It's my choice. Or if you think I'm a bad woman because I'm deciding to take the step of divorcing and moving out and building a life for myself, you can either talk about the divorce or you can celebrate the fact that I have the courage to build a life for myself. That's your choice. It's you can always have these conversations in your head with this person who's gossiping till you pick up the courage to actually go and have this conversation face to face with the person who's gossiped about you. Remember, the day you decide to call out the person who's gossiped the most about you and the most worst things about you is the day you will realize how weak or what a scared person that gossiper is. These people have no standing. They don't have the courage to come and stand and talk to you face to face. Zero. They will disappear, run away, change topic, and never meet you again. They're basically very weak people, is what I've realized. You know, strong people, sharp people, intelligent people, empathetic people, kind people who will always talk about great ideas, about the positive in the room, about the good in people. They don't have time to gossip, mean things about other people. That is an absolute way to judge the new friends of Logan in your circle. The other thing that really works is to continue to celebrate yourself always. Before you leave the house, look into the mirror and say, what a fantastic person you really are, and step out. The way we look at ourselves is really what we project outside. And when we walk outside as this person of power, of gravitas, of somebody who knows themselves, it actually kind of weakens the hold that gossipers can have on ourselves, because then they know that if they're talking something bad about us, it is not going to affect us in any way. It's going to completely neutralize their gossip. The whole intention has to be about us. We can't control the gossipers, we can't control the gossip. It's only how we're going to handle them is going to make a difference in how much the gossip is going to impact us or not impact us. And we've all been a victim of gossip to know that it's just not worth our time. The winners take the least amount of time to recover from gossip and go and live another day bravely and strongly and happily. I look forward to sharing your point of view in the comment section, because that's where I'm going to meet you.